Hello and welcome to another Demis Helen tutorial. This video is going to be all about mixing orchestral elements with synthesized elements. So this track is going to be my go-to for the demonstration. The bit in particular is this highlighted here, but I'll just leave it playing whilst I'm just kind of telling you what's going on. So this track is an original track from my Ingleborough video over on my other channel, filmed with a 4K camera, so go and check it out if you like that channel, give us a like. All my music kind of goes there as well, but I wanted to bring it back to its original roots and give it a little bit more depth, so this is my attempt. Now the original song has heavy synth elements and really like kind of big booming kick drum in there, so I kind of wanted to bring those elements in but really beef it up and give it a bit of an emotion like that with some of the orchestral elements. So we're using the play library from East West. Let's just load that up. So there's the East West. We've got the well, at the moment we've got the piano off that one, and what have we got there? French horns. I can hardly see without my glasses. Yeah, 6 French horns on that one. Then there is another instance there with the violins, the tuba, castanets, blah blah. So all these things come into play in different places, as you can hear, so it's all kind of giving you that setting, and then it needs to jump into this, so it all goes quiet. Let's just turn it up a bit. So I've got that. This is literally dragged and dropped out of the original track, slowed down probably about 15 BPM, I think it's about 125-ish on the original. So I've got all original elements, but then I needed it to get really epic, really quickly, and really hit you in the face. So here we are. So where in dance music you'd really let that synth kind of reign free a little bit more, I've had to rein it in a lot further back, using some compression to kind of let the orchestral elements flow through, along with a little bit of EQ. I haven't done too much on it yet, but what we're going to do, just turn that back down, is I'm going to introduce a third brass element in there. So at the moment we've got the tubas and the French horns. So French horns and the tuba. We haven't got trombones in there, so I'm going to jump into play here. How many have we got? Add another one in there. So we're going to jump into the orchestral library, strings. No, we're not. Brass. Then we're going to jump into trombones. Going to go for 4 trombones. We'll go for the key switch. Add that in. All that's going to do is give me the option to kind of change it up with key switches, and I'll just demonstrate that now. It's not really relevant, but it's just worth showing you. So we're on MIDI channel 9 there. We're on 15 to 16 on that one. So we need to be on 17 to 18 for the outputs. So key switches are this section here, which is off the scale of the instrument. So you can see where it's going to get real power on that low end. So if I just... Where are we on the keyboard? Oh, we haven't got it set up yet, that's why. I'm just going to add a new MIDI track in here. Sorry, I have not got my glasses and I can see absolutely bugger all. So trombone, and I'll just put ×4 KS for key switch, so I know not to press any keys further up. So it's put it there, and we just need to go up to trombone, and we need to set that to MIDI channel 9. Is it on play MIDI? I think, yeah, I think that's the right one. Oh, sorry about that. We might not be on the right version of play there, it's that one. There we are. So now if I press these key switches, it gives you different playing styles. So that's got more of a accented start, whereas this one, more of a slow fade, but quite quick actually. It's more of a crescendo. And then you got like effects. That's the crescendo, sorry. That's a quick one. That's like a staccato. So that's kind of your options. So we're just going to start on the first key switch there. Let's just close that for a second. And what I'm going to do is go into the horn section here. And I'm just going to copy and paste. Right, so we don't want exactly the same position. Sounds quite nice actually. Right, I don't want the top end on there, we just need that bit. I'm just going to show you how to blend this in with the rest of the track there. So let's just listen to it on without them. Now let's listen with. So it's a bit too loud, a bit obnoxious in there. So we're just going to turn the volume down because they are key sensitive. So the harder I press, the louder it gets. So that's kind of where I want it there. That's nice. But I am going to go into play itself. Let's just save that as well. Play itself, player, and I'm just going to reduce its microphone volume there. So I'm just listening to that. That's a little bit too early because this instrument's quite up front. So let's go and choose a different key switch. You can choose them within the MIDI editor, but we're not going to bother with all that today. Let's just that's quite nice. So maybe we can get away with turning up the velocities. Let's just have them full, because we are kind of creating a synthesized effect with these instruments. So because it's so quick still, I'm actually going to increase the attack on this, sorry, so it's got a bit more time to come in because these notes are falling before. Right, so we'll leave it at that. It's blending in, but it does stand out a little bit like a sore thumb. So because it's got its own channel, I haven't renamed any of them. That's pretty bad. Okay, we'll solo the trombones. So here we are. Let's just trombone times 4 key switch. Right, so we're naming it the same as the MIDI track back there. So let's just open up Pro Q2, see what's going on. So as you can see, it's quite dominant around it's the mid-range really. There is a bit of weight in there, but we don't want any of the weight. Let's just boost. The lower mids there, just a little boost, and I'm going to make this a bit of a sharper cut, and I think we'll go for a 24. So we just want it for the sound to support the actual bass parts, which is the tuba. The French horns do a bit of both, but there is a bit of weight in this synth because I'm using the lower notes on there. There's quite a nice range on that synth. So let's just unsolo. So there's a very obvious sign here. As you can see, the French horns and the solo tuba are going to a brass section here. So let's go to trombone, send it to brass group, which is over here. And So now it's blended, and that is down to me putting it through a distortion tool. I've used a saturator there, just a preset, a little bit of tweaking, just a very little bit to keep it simple for now, to give it that rough edge, a bit more synthesized, because since when do you hear of orchestras going through an overdrive unit or anything like that? Some people will do it, but they don't make it obvious. Then stereo shuffle, I've kind of left and righted it a little bit more. It was a little bit wider before. I've kind of shrunk it more to the middle of the stereo field. So without that, if we just listen, it's a bit wider on the earphones. If you're listening to earphones, you'll hear it much better. That's more centered, wider. So that gives just the act of narrowing the field there, lets the synth do its work. It lets the synth fill those areas up rather than it being cluttered with all the brass sound, which can clash with what's going on. And finally, let's get back here. Just a bit of Pro Q. We've got bass roll off at 24 there. The mid-side mode, side is putting everything below that point into mono, just to make sure it's not clashing with the kick drum too much in stereo, if you know what I mean. Kick drum's already in mono. Cut there, just to let the synth breathe a little bit, and then just boosted the highs, just to give it that bit of a pierce through the track. We just turn that EQ off. It becomes obnoxious again. It helps control it. Now the synth, let's just have a quick look at that. It's going to be difficult to find. It's there. So I'm just going to call this PLK stars, because that's the patch. I always use it if you're a regular viewer. Plug stars synth. There we are. Right, so it goes through an EQ, which does absolutely nothing. There's meant to be a roll off there. I'll just roll it off at around 20. That'll do. And then we have this. Now this is controlling the synth, holding it back a little bit instead of letting it reign free. If we just turn that off, it becomes more staccato, or for you kind of tech nerds, it's more of a 16th note. It's obvious. And then there it seems to bring up the bass and let the bass really circulate in that sound there, but reduce the volume of the bite of the top synth parts, because I've merged the bass and the melody on the same line from the same patch through the same channel. And this is the control that I use. So we're using the Octo style here. Threshold. So the threshold and ratio have to be set like this, along with the very hard knee, to kind of capture those bites on the upper parts of the synth, which then are not instantly cut down, but at 15 milliseconds. And then the release quite sharp to get it back to volume, but because it's so stabby, it's actually not letting it get there. But that keeps it reined back a little bit. As you can hear, it becomes a bit more clunky, whereas orchestral instruments are quite flowing. Even when there's staccato notes, it's still a bit more free flowing. So just to give it a bit more control, I think I will raise the volume overall at the end of the track. And then here, bass roll off. I've cut some off, even though I've done that on the brass. I think there's going to be some choir elements. I think there's already some choirs in there, I think. Just to let them breathe out a little bit in the mid-range. And then just brightened it up there to work alongside the brass to give it a bit of a brighter finish. So the volume definitely can go up, so let's have a mess around. Let's add Le Petit Excite. So this is the exciter. I've covered this in a previous video. We're just going to boost the highs and give it a bit more sparkle. bass, not too much. Let's stick with 88, the year I was born. Right, so that's just excited the lower portion of the frequency and the high. High more so because that's what we want to really influence the bass, just to kind of bring that warmth back that we've lost from a bit of processing there. So if we just play that again without, the synth is quite far back, especially adding that extra line of trombones in. And then, so without actually adding more stuff in, more EQ, more limiters to boost the volume, just a little bit of excitement from the exciter there, and it really does work wonders on it. So this will become more apparent now in this section. Really lost the pace there. Now next in line will be the melody, but from the violins and violas and all that. So we got there. Where else are we? What else have we got in there? I'm sure we have cellos. Anyway, so there's those few elements there. Cellos and violins. They're really sitting quite far back at the moment. Had to rein them back initially because they were just too loud. So let's just finish the video with boosting these volumes. So they're not going to a group, so we're going to create a group channel and we're going to call it Strings. Create that folder, add track. Right, Strings, solo them. Now select both tracks, hold down shift to select both, hold down shift and select strings. It will send both to strings or one to brass. Okay, so now we have strings going to this group here. So let's give it a bit of excitement. We'll put it through FabFilter. Let's boost them tops. Just to get a bit of a pierce on there. Let's remove. Right, that's sounding okay. It's going to need a lot of work, some reverb on there that I don't like from within East West itself. But it's a better start. Let's just save that before we carry on. Why are we doing this? So you can hardly hear those strings. So it's just adding to it a little bit. I don't want it to come through too much because it's mainly about the synth. But that's a quick way to boost. So we're not going to need the exciter in there. Let's just go into Pro Q2. Let's get rid of some of these unwanted bits. Let's make it a 24. You can hear these two frequencies here. Just muddying up the sound. I don't want that. Maybe just a little bit. Okay. Because they're predominantly top of the range in the frequency spectrum. I know cellos are quite low, but in this instance they are higher up. So that's basically what I wanted to show you, just mixing in some stuff and how it's done. As you can see, very little editing to start with. Less is more. You don't want to go crazy with the over processing because then the instrumentation starts to sound mechanical and just unnatural. I'm trying to give it that orchestral flavour, but more of a hybrid style. So if you like the video, give us a thumbs up, drop us a comment, tell me what you think of the video, anything you want to see next, or any other general questions, just ask me in those comments. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and don't forget to check out the in-grouper video which I linked earlier. I'll put it in the description also, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.